channel. My name is Aubrey and I'm an opera singer and a voice coach. Today we are going back to our regularly scheduled programming of bad American Idol auditions. Today we're talking about Koby, who I've seen a couple times actually strolling around on the internet. And I feel like a lot of people are having a lot of really negative things to say about her, along with a lot of positives, and I agree based off of my little snippets of watching her. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about her experience on the show, and we're going to talk about the positives and the negatives and what we can do to fix the negatives as singers ourselves. Let's get right into it.
The devil never stops. Come
I applaud the confidence. All right, so I know that the judges actually go on to give some criticism as well, but let's just talk. From what I can see, she sounds like a trained singer. She's got a lot of qualities to her voice that I can relate to. I've heard in a lot of my friends and colleagues. Cool. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the basic techniques, right? But that being said, as a classically trained singer, I definitely struggled to figure out how my voice fits into the pop framework. I've definitely come across some really cool popra kind of voices out there. Kate Heidke-Miller out in Australia, she has a really cool sound that fuses a lot of different colors together. Love that. But this is a little bit outside of the vibe zone that we're looking for, right? Not quite hitting the target here. A lot of the times when we're singing classical, Broadway, stuff like that, we're often thinking about filling a space. We're in charge of being the source of our own power. Sometimes you have traditions that do use mics, others don't. In the opera world, we often don't mic, if ever, and that is definitely something that causes us to search for maximizing volume with minimizing the amount of effort it takes. That's a different discussion, though, because we're not trying to necessarily go for an opera vibe, right? This is American Idol, and we kind of all know that that's not necessarily what they're looking for. What I'm seeing is that she has a bit of a pressure to make her presence known, and by doing so, she's actually missing the whole picture, right? She's supposed to be singing for the judges and what she thinks they want to hear, and I don't feel like she took that into consideration whatsoever. Whenever I'm auditioning for something, I tend to try and do a lot of research right beforehand on the different people that might be on the panels, on the institution itself, and what kinds of past winners they had. If I were her, I definitely would have been doing that. I would have been consuming a lot of content about American Idol if this was something I was really passionate about doing. I think that would have given her a little bit more of an understanding of how to position herself as a singer in this particular context. Now, that being said, just because she has to sing in a particular way to appease this particular audience does not mean that that is the only thing she can or will ever do. You can do whatever you want as a vocalist, right? So what I would love to see as an auditioner would be a person who has a lot of versatility, a lot of flexibility, can wear many different vocal hats, as it were. I'll be honest, one of the first things that really helped me branch out of opera was heart. I sang Crazy on You, and I realized that there were definitely some colors that opera did not pertain to in that particular song, but I found some crossover, and that helped to start bridging gaps into other genres for me. You have to study other genres just as much as your first genre. And I feel like that's something that people don't necessarily talk about in the classical community. There's virtuosity everywhere. There is practice happening everywhere. You have to be on top of your game, and that means being competitive, doing your research, sitting there and actually drilling stuff, and really envisioning where you want to go as an artist. So even though she might be classically trained, that doesn't necessarily help you in other genres as much as you'd think. In this particular clip, she's got great pitch understanding and some cool rhythmic stuff, which makes me think she's got some good musicality, but she's pushing awfully hard, which also makes me think she's not reading the room very well. We have to be able to adjust on a dime based on the feedback we're getting from the audience or from just hearing ourselves in the space. She is singing really loud, and it is definitely compromising the quality of her sound. And I always like to tell people, err on the side of beauty. Make sure you're always prioritizing the quality of the sound over just being loud. Look, we can always put a mic on you if you're a little bit quiet, but we can't fix the quality of the voice if it's not super solid. It really is just about putting yourself out there and learning new repertoire and seeing if you like it, because not everybody's gonna like every genre. And also, not every voice is gonna easily suit every genre either. I really enjoy metal, punk, rock, and all that, but I don't necessarily fit into every single category as easily as I'd like. Sometimes I just have to be a listener until I figure out a better way of going about attacking that kind of repertoire. And then underneath all the cracking and the pushing and the stressing about these notes, she's got a lot of ornamentation, which is totally distracting me from the words. If Katy Perry had not repeated the words that she had sung at the end of that particular presentation, I would not have understood what she said at all. When she first sang it, I thought it was a vocalese. I totally missed what she said. So that's something we have to take into consideration too. The human brain is looking for things that are familiar. Things like words that are repeated or motifs that we recognize. Those things are super, super helpful, and we like to draw those out of the woodwork, right? But in this case, it's just a lot of ornamentation. I'm not quite figuring out what the melody is. It seems like something of a very, very long introduction to a bigger piece of work, and I really would have liked to see the bigger piece of work. My last little comment here is mostly directed towards potential students of voice. Look for effortless singing. Be surprised at how easy it can be. Try and search for stuff that feels good, and the sound will likely come afterwards. So many of my students come into my lessons saying, I feel like I need to make it. I feel this, I feel that. And to me, I look for what I don't feel. I look for things that are smooth and buttery and comfortable above all else. I don't want to do something that hurts or strains. I look to find a solution if that starts creeping into my mechanism. All in all, was her audition the worst I've ever heard? Absolutely not. But there are a couple little spots, in particular, over-singing, over-pressurization of the airflow, and over-ornamentation that really inhibited her success. I'm really hoping to see some more of these in the future, so if you have any that you'd really love me to talk about, I would love to look. And Koby, if you watched this, you did a good job. You just kind of have to read the room a little bit better. I think you're almost there. I think you'd sing Heart amazingly. Go check them out. Until then, everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, keep singing. Mwah.
Beyond this mountain